Unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. All right, it's time for me to make an official apology to some of my Jewish friends, to Jews in general, most specifically one Jewish friend that I have who works for Israel and has since I've known her, or works for the Jewish cause anyway, since I've known her. I've fought with her tooth and nail, over Zionism. And, and I'm not just, this isn't only for Jews, but all ethno-nationalists in general. There aren't, most of them that I've known have been Jews, but there are a couple of Viva La Raza people that I've met and a couple of Nation of Islam types. I never met Louis Farrakhan, but I met some of his people, and I've had these discussions with them, and with lots of people, lots of leftists and everybody else. I need to apologize to all of them, and I'm being as sincere as I possibly can be here. I think they might be right. I'm pretty sure they might be right, especially my Jewish friends. I think ethno-nationalism might be the best way to go from here forth. It's going to take a lot of trouble, but that's simply the way the world has been designed for, I don't know, billions of years, all of recorded history up until recently. It's been tribal. People separate. They still separate. I just made the last recording I posted. But it dawned on me when I kind of got done with it that this is what my Jewish friends have been arguing for. Well, they haven't been arguing for it for everybody. They've been arguing it for themselves for a long time, and I've been fighting them, because I'm a radical individualist and blah, 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 and ethno-nationalism is worse because X, Y, Z, and all these different reasons why individualism is so much better, and individual liberty, and don't judge people by their skin color and their outfits, and it's fun to have restaurants all over the place with all kinds of different kinds of foods and songs and dance and all these thousands of different reasons, and because Jesus, and because, we're all special creatures, and we're all capable of the same kind of love, and we all have the same color of blood, and we all bleed, Everything I was taught since I was a kid, People taught me since I was a kid that that's the way to do it, So it takes a long time to deprogram that, but thanks to my Jewish friends, mostly my Jewish friend, one, along with the constant influence online. What's fun about this right now, this recording? I've got a flock of hundreds of crows right now just swarming over my house, so this is fun. It could be symbolic, I don't know. What do they mean? Death? Maybe this is death. Maybe they're saying, you're talking about this and it's death. But I'm not going to let that interrupt me. I can talk about that later. They just flew off. Nope, they're still here. I think they're right. It's the way it worked for thousands of years. This experiment of multiculturalism has largely failed. Other people, I know you can hear people disagree with me. It didn't fail, Merkley. It's exploded online, and it looks worse than it really is. You're seeing all these videos of black people going nuts in fucking Popeyes and McDonald's and on cruise ships, and the murder rate's high, and Irina Zarutska, but just take your own advice, Merkley. You didn't, out of sight, out of mind. You don't live from North Carolina. What are you talking about that for? It didn't happen to you. And sure, you got pistol whipped and lost some of your teeth, in Oakland, and black people didn't help you, and it totally triggered you when you saw Irina Zarutska because you lived through that, and she didn't. She died, But this all points to one thing. Ethno-states, ethno-communities. ethnocentrism, you know? I've been fighting it. I don't know why. It's not like I have tons of friends of different ethnicities. I've had some, but because I defended white people and defended Christians, most of them don't like me anymore. So they really weren't friends. They seemed like friends for a while. I had some for a while. I have some people that I'm friendly with from different races. My favorite friend from high school is Navajo. And all the people that I went to school with, I didn't go to school. I think my school was half white, in West Jordan, Utah. You'd think it would be more, but, And I like all these people, and I would prefer to just live around them, with them all. But, and maybe we could figure out a system where we could have little tiny private communities of multiculturalism where people could move in if they want that. That seems reasonable. But the idea that people can't choose to segregate and to favor their own tribe, you got to see these crows. I'm telling you, there's hundreds of crows over my house right now as I'm making this recording. I don't know what the symbolism is, I'm going to keep going anyway because I got this train of thought. We can have communities where maybe we can, intermingle. For those of us get along with if your best friend is from a different race, go, okay, we'll sneak off into the woods. Maybe the non-territory land, or maybe we can make provisions, I can move to my friend's Indian land and he can come to my white land, and my Jews friends can come to my white land. I can go to their Jew land and China land, and, and we can visit, but we should have, we should do the things that the Jews do. They got it figured out, okay? They do have a higher IQ, so let's just learn, okay? It's probably smart to think of people not in your tribe as less than your tribe, not as good. It sounds terrible, right? But hear me out. There's good news here. Every tribe gets to do that. So every tribe gets to think that they're better than the other tribe. I'm kind of describing how reality works anyway here, but just hear me out. I know it sounds kind of funny that I'm just describing the world, how it existed for thousands of years, as if this is some brand new innovation, but maybe it's beneficial for a person with a certain skin color, a certain look, and a certain shape of nose or whatever to say, well, I have the prettiest of all skin colors and the prettiest nose of all, and look at those heathens, we got to figure out a word that's as good as goy. Every tribe, Islamists have infidel. White people, do we have one that applies to everybody that's not white? Non-white doesn't sound as good. We'll have to figure out one. We can figure out a word that applies to everybody that's not white. And then, Indians can do that, and every tribe, and blah, blah, blah. But we can live separately. If white people want to live together and keep their doors unlocked and have a high trust society and keep low trust people out, then they can do that. And people that want a low trust society where, it's just fun and games and crime, shootouts and rap music and crazy cars with big wheels, they can do that. Who am I to judge and say you have to clean up your neighborhood? If you don't want to paint your neighborhood like the gays do, you don't have to. You don't even have to paint your house at all. If you don't want to have a sewer system, you don't have to have one. Who am I to impose that on another ethnicity or an ethno-nation? If they don't want that, they don't have to have it. We need to stop imposing ourselves on others. If they want to solve things with violence rather than words, why are we standing in the way? what's the point? Why it seems stupid. Why are we fighting people from getting what they want? You know, freedom has different meanings to different people. For some, weirdly, it means being told what to do. Those people maybe should be able to organize and a society where they just get orders all the time. You know? Why are we fighting this? Why have I been fighting it? You know? I know that I was taught since I was a little kid that it's evil to be white and straight and Christian. But I was taught that by another tribe. And that's smart for them to teach me that. You know? They're keeping my tribe busy. They love their tribe. They hate my tribe. You know? So they trick my tribe into being self-hating, guilty, givers. You know? And touche. We should all be so clever. We should all take care of our own tribes the way the Jews take care of their tribe. You know? It might get ugly, but, you know, my Jewish friends don't seem any more miserable than anybody else. That taking care of their own kind of thing works out pretty well. And, you know, Mormons were pretty good at that, taking care of their own. So I kind of come from that background anyway, but it was never like take care of our own race or ethnicity. It was like our own people, our own religion. And Mormons and Christians, for whatever reason, decided that race had nothing to do with that. And of course, that's created a lot of problems. You know, a lot of resentments, a lot of whatever. So what's the big deal about separating it out? If we can still be on Facebook, you know, we separate our communities out. We go, no, this is a white state. You know, you start with the ones that are mostly white anyway. And then you just go, sorry, buddy, or maybe a grandfather, one or two people in. And, you know, you say, hey, well, this is going to be a white ethno-state or a black ethno-state or whatever. And here's our rules. This is what we do. In order to, if you're not black, you can live here, but, you know, this is basically what Islam does, is what Jews do. It's like so many other countries already do this. They did it for thousands of years. I think America kind of did it for a while, where they say, look, we just kind of want team spirit. We made this cute little flag. This represents all of us. If we're going to live together, then we all agree on these basic principles. We swear allegiance to it. We give up our allegiance to our other nations if we want to be here. But since that doesn't really work, we can just simply go, oh, okay, so as much as you want somebody from a different ethnicity to be part of your clan, it's probably best to just go, no, you can have a special privilege to be here, you know, kind of like what the Jews do. You can live here, but you can't be a full citizen. You can kind of be a full citizen, but not really. I think that not really part is probably really important, because you want to be able to get rid of somebody very quickly who shows themselves to actually not be part of the tribe, to not have the same rules. You don't want to make it difficult. Right now, we're having a difficult time getting rid of people from America who came here, who snuck in, who just snuck through the back door, you know? And due process. It's expensive. You have to pay for them while they're here. They're taking money. You got all these thieves giving them money that are trying to ruin this system that we had for thousands of years and trying to destroy America, but not rebuilding it in this great, wonderful ethno-state that it could be. Even if you could have multiple ethno-states within this territory if we want to, you know? And we can just be adults, because what adults do is when you realize that something doesn't work, you don't just keep banging your head against the wall to try to make it work. You say, hey, We tried, but it didn't work. That thing didn't work. What do you mean, Merkley? It works just fine if you put down Twitter and stop watching Fox News. I don't watch Fox News. I don't watch any TV besides like YouTube. But anyway, it could work. It could work. We could return back to the way the world was for thousands of years. You know, we can even within our ethno-states, we can subdivide into little pockets of ethnicities. Well, these are the Germans. The Germans wear the lederhosen. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Here's the Swiss people. They have a long fucking horn, and they're good with cough drops. Good to have them here. Hey, Irish people with your straight dancing and your funny wiggly legs. We like it. You're over here. You know? And maybe you could have, if you still want Mexican food, you go, okay, we could still have a Mexican restaurant. It has to be owned by a white person, and maybe you can bring in some Mexicans to make the food, but then they have to go out at a certain time, or maybe they can live in certain quarters and they have a special work visa. You know, we can do that. You know, and then they can go home to their little chunk called Mexico. You know, and they can have their rules about who they let in. You know, maybe they let white people in, maybe they don't. Maybe the gringos have to leave. You know? We can let everybody decide what they want. You know? For their tribe, for their people. The people with their genes, with their impulses, their natural je ne sais quoi. You know? The desires that they want to do. White people, you like to dance a certain way? Go for it. Have that good posture, wiggle those legs, play those fiddles. You know, black people, go nuts. Keep doing what you're doing. You know? You don't want to let us in? Well, that's okay. We don't want to come anyway. Most of us. Most of us are fucking scared to death to come in to that neighborhood. You know? So we can build a wall around it. We can build a wall around mine, you know? And just think of how much nicer that would be if everybody could build their own communities and their own nations based on their religions and their DNA, you know? And we just leave people alone. We can be friends. We can still be friends with Israel. But we can just say, but you're not us. You know? You're not us. You're them. You're they. We can high five. Sweet. But you don't get to own our country. You know? And we don't get to own yours. You get to own your own. The thing I like most about this ethno-state idea, and especially the kind that comes from the Talmud and rabbinical teachings and the Torah, is this less than idea, you know, that the other tribes are less than. It's tremendously beneficial for your own tribe. I already just said this, I don't want to be repeating, but you get to kick people out very easily, and then maybe when you run out of resources or something, it makes conquering another tribe much more palatable if you think of them as less than. And remember, this is a privilege that gets extended to all tribes. You know, no matter what tribe you belong to, if you want to, you can decide that you're better than the other tribes, that the other tribes are less than, they're cockroaches, they're animals, they're disgusting. And you can see how that works. You can suit to taste, you know? Yeah, and you can have trade if you want to, or you can not. You can be an isolationist. This is good. I can't believe that for so long I fought this really rational way of thinking. This is the idealism that I was pushing before, radical individualism, that's so stupid and so hippie. And I'm kind of embarrassed that I pushed it for so long. You know? Because the world doesn't work that way. People love their families more than they love the neighbors across the street. And if the neighbors across the street are distantly related to them, kind of, they love them more than the funny-looking, funny-smelling ones that are coming over, you know? Those weirdos with that different kind of hair and those stupid clothes and those stupid outfits, you know? After I put up my recording yesterday that's going to certainly get me killed by the commies, somebody sent me a Muhammad Ali quote where he was using the exact same comparison as me. Pigeons want to be pigeons. You know? Chinese people like Chinese babies. Black people like black babies. He was saying, he said, I want my kids to look like me. I've been giving Nick Fuentes such a hard time, you know, resisting, because he's saying this shit. I'm late to this game. I'm late. I'm totally late. I'm a stubborn, dumb, slow motherfucker. It takes me a long time to figure out sometimes when I've been duped. But when I do figure it out, I'm good at switching. I'm good at changing my mind and going, wait a minute, that's a better way to do it. And it is. Ethno-states are a better way to do it because it is the path of least resistance. It causes the least amount of damage to nature. You know, it's the most symbiotic thing you can do with nature, because nature wants to do that anyway. You know, it's like you've seen it. You know, I'm part of a pigeon group. I love pigeons. My pigeons, they're not my pigeons. It's a wild flock, but they're my friends. They come by every day. I visit with them. They have little bands on their names, and they're just the most amazing little creatures. And I just can't believe that I'm allowed to be friends with these amazing flying creatures. But they don't hang out with the crows. They don't hang out with the flock or the hawks. But they hang out with me. It's easy to hang out with me though, because I give them food and I don't fly around following them anywhere. They can just fly away from me in 2 seconds and go back to their little spot where they poop and nuzzle and lay eggs, you know? Yeah. Nature already figured this shit out. We don't need to fight nature, guys. We don't. Nature wants us to be in clans and tribes and families, you know, and townships. These evil people from other tribes that have tried to come in and say, no, tribes are bad. You don't want to have a tribe. You don't need a tribe. Only we need a tribe. I mean, this is fucking genius. We should be in awe of this concept. That sneaky tribe came in and told every other tribe, no, don't be a tribe. Just be individuals. And especially don't be a white Christian tribe, because white Christian tribes are the worst. If you're in a white Christian tribe, you're the worst. Especially if you're male. Chop off your dick. Come on, stop reproducing. You know what your tribe needs to do? Stop making babies. While our tribe, we're going to have lots of babies. This is seriously great shit. You know? This is smart. The Jews are a smart tribe. a very smart, sneaky tribe. It's admirable. It's an admirable tribe. The rest of us tribes, we should get together. We do this already, sports, come on. It's so funny. It's like a comedy skit. I'm describing the way the world wants to be always, the way it self-organizes, and I'm describing it as if it's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. The Dallas Cowboys are not ridiculous. The Denver Broncos also have a horse. Not ridiculous. The Pittsburgh Steelers, not ridiculous. People want to be on teams. They want to have uniforms. They want to have common cause. They want to have common purpose. And they don't want it to be too hard to figure out who hates them. Because, I was talking about this thing in the last recording. I was saying, this tribe's like that, this tribe's like that, What about the crime statistics? Steven Crowder arguing with guys in a black barbershop as if he's changing the world or something, But what about when a white person does that? Well, see, that's the great thing about being in a tribe. If you're in a ethno-state that's all purple people or blue people or whatever, and a red person comes in or a polka dot person comes in to get Dr. Seussy so nobody gets their feelings hurt. If somebody from your tribe, from your blue tribe, the blue tribe, you got a little blue tribe member, a little red tribe member comes in, friends with the blue tribe guy, and the red tribe guy and the blue tribe guy both steal a chocolate bar. They both do it. Well, the good thing about ethno-nationalism is you can kick the red tribe member out and say, just get the fuck out of here. Never come back. And then you can deal with your blue tribe member however your tribe wants to deal with it. You can send him to school. You can give him a hug. You can smack him on the balls. You can kick him in the nuts. Whatever the punishment is, it's easier to deal with the blue tribe guy because he shares genes with all the other blue tribe people. He knows the rules. And it's easier to administer loving, just justice to your tribe member. It's not easy to do that with another tribe member who doesn't even like your rules. A tribe member that comes in, that's not the way we do it. We don't solve problems by talking it out and paying a fine. We solve it with fists and swords and spears. I'm down for the good old-fashioned, what do you call that when two guys square off with guns? Quick draw. Fastest one lives, the other one dies. When they're both part of your tribe, you're like, I don't want to see either one of them die. I don't want to see it. But for the people that are in a different tribe, get the fuck out of here. You're a lesser human being. You're not even a human. I don't have the word yet. Come on. Come up with something that's as good as goy. It's got to be as good as goy, because goy is a great word. It sounds like what is goy. It sounds like a barf. Goy. Blah. 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 Okay, we'll call them blah. The blahs. No, that's too much like blood. The we can just use that, Hey, be careful when you go out and you're dealing with a because the you can't trust the They'll come in, they'll steal your shit. Never trust a Yeah. So, please, Again, I'll wrap this up. Please accept my sincerest apologies. Every single person, every lefty, every tribalist, every racist, every single person I ever fought on the idea of tribalism. I apologize. I retract. I see the wisdom. Now, it is not ideal. It is not perfect. But it never was ideal. We never achieved the utopia we thought we were going to. It's time to pull the plug. Success isn't right around the corner for multiculturalism. It's not. So let's reset and do it God's way. Let's do it nature's way. Let's stop pretending we know better than nature, because we don't. Nature is billions of years ahead of us. It gave us little nose receptors that we can smell somebody go, I don't like the way you smell, stranger. We don't like your smell around here. Gave us little eyeballs, earballs. Gave us all the tools we need to navigate all the various tribes. And we can make friends with them because we can sniff their foods. Well, stranger, I know I said I didn't like your smell, but when it's coming off of that plate, I like it a little bit better than when it's coming out of your butt. It actually smells kind of nice coming off the plate. What do you say you make me up a plate of that slop, that smelly, stinky, wonderful slop? And I'll give you some money that you can go spend in your tribe, with your people. What do you think? Am I crazy? Am I nuts? Have I gone off the deep end? Have I become just like my dear Jewish friends? Well, if I have, I consider it an honor. Thanks for listening. Unnecessary outro song to totally waste